So one of the things that we have to talk about today is obviously with the linebacker coaching changes that we saw in February, I feel like going to see a shift and maybe some of the targets that Oklahoma is going after in 2026. And even if it's not necessarily shifting off of the guys that maybe you saw them pursuing earlier, you're maybe going to see a shift in maybe new offers and maybe just pursuing other guys a little bit harder while still pursuing some of the guys that they've been pursuing, just creating a bigger target pool because we all know Oklahoma really needs to go out there and probably land maybe 3, possibly 4 linebackers in the 2026 class. And it's not because you're just suffering at depth at this position, but we all understand that you've got to retool. And with how great Brent Venables is at developing linebacker talent, obviously you're seeing Danny Stutzman this year show out in the combine. You're probably going to see Kip Lewis entertain the idea of a draft. He's a guy that, listen, probably going to be pretty hard to keep for another year. And then obviously guys like Kendall Dolby, Sammy Omosigo, they're obviously going to have their chances as well. And I think Kendall Dolby is just going to end up aging out of the program anyway. So Oklahoma is going to need to potentially go out there, retool at this position. And this is, I think, the year to do it. Like, this looks like a pretty good year at linebacker. And although obviously you don't really see a ton of 5 stars at the upper echelon level, you see a lot of really good targets in the middle, right? When you look at everybody at every position, you see a lot of really good linebackers in the middle. And that's where we're going to start today because Oklahoma made 2 offers to 2 linebackers out of the state of Arizona, and they've already scheduled and locked in official visits. It's something that I think is notable. So we're going to talk about it today. Before we do that, as always, though, I want to hear from y'all. So join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys like recruiting content, we do this all year long, especially in the off season. We have the players on for interviews, and we're going to try to get these 2 on as well. So stay tuned for that. But the first people, and bear with me here. Y'all know I'm terrible at names. I try to get them right, just can't sometimes. The first guy that we are going to talk about today is Bo, and I believe it's, well, I believe it's Bo, but I believe the last name is pronounced, and I did this through Google Translate, so bear with me, hope it's right. I think it's Yandro. I believe it's Yandro. If I'm wrong, jump in the comments, give me the phonics. You guys know what to do. You guys know how to correct me all the time. But Bo Yandro is a 3-star, according to the 247 composite rankings, the number 765th player in the entire country, out of Chandler, Arizona. Now, his brother, I believe it's his brother, because they have the same last name, and he said twin in one of his posts, Nico Yandro, also got an offer as well. So we'll talk about him towards the end. But Bo Yandro, the first one that we're going to talk about here today, 6'1", 215 pounds. Bo Yandro, in 6 games played, he had an injury, so he was only able to play 6 games. 90 tackles, 31 solos, 3 sacks, 1 interceptions. He was averaging about 14.8 tackles per game. And obviously, high production guy. Now, interesting thing is here, you saw James Skalski throughout the interview. This was before Oklahoma hired Wes Goodwin and Dreiling as their co-linebacker coaches. But Bo Yandro is an interesting prospect. He's got a total of 17 total offers. Obviously, he's got the offer from Arizona. He's got the offer from some of those West Coast schools that you would expect to go after in that region, like a Boise State. He's got the Oregon offer. He's got Nebraska. He's got Minnesota. So he's got some Big Ten offers. Obviously, USC just doing whatever they can to get the linebacker talent in, especially after, a school like Oklahoma really wants to pursue a guy in Brent Venables. But already locked in an official visit to Oregon as well. So he will be at Oklahoma for the Champion Barbecue. He'll be at Oregon the week before on 6/14th, but he already has an unofficial visit planned to Oklahoma on March 29th. So interesting thing here is James Skalski's the one that had the permission to throw out the and I would say has permission to be able to do this because I don't think at the time he could, but was able to throw out the offer, which makes you wonder, like, is something bigger planned for James Skalski down the road? Maybe Nate Dreiling and Wes Goodwin decide to take other jobs. But when you look at the film, Bo Yandro just looks like he has good field awareness. right? He has a good keen for where the ball is, who the ball carrier is. So interesting prospect here. And again, this was somebody that was offered post losing Zach Alley. So again, not necessarily a shift, and this is just going to be like one of their primary targets because I don't know that for a fact. It definitely is a shift in understanding who Oklahoma potentially wants to add to their target pool. And if you land Bo, you would imagine you have a chance to go out here and land his brother, Nico, right? And if you can do that, obviously, this goes out here and gives you a good chance to land 2 linebackers for depth purposes. And then at that point, I think if you really want to take 4 guys, you could go out there and get you a Sinceri Johnson, who we've talked about many, many times as a guy that I think Oklahoma's in a fantastic spot for. And although you're going to have to battle Ohio State and USC and some of those bigger schools, I think Oklahoma can position themselves pretty well for Sinceri. Or a guy like Talanoa Ely, the 5-star linebacker out of Orange, California, right? If Oklahoma just wanted to kind of position those as their 2 big-time linebackers in this class and get these 2 guys as well who look like they could be dynamic athletes. Like they could play multiple different linebacker positions, whether it's the inside or the outside for you. Maybe one of these guys could end up playing cheetah for Brent Venables. I think the opportunity for both of these kids is going to be endless. But you look at Nico, right? And you look at what he did. Again, another pretty good production, like 51 total tackles this past season, 31 solo tackles. He had 3 tackles for loss. He had 2 interceptions. He had 12 pass breakups. So this is a guy that, again, you could probably see Brandon Hall absolutely loving in that cheetah position, a guy that could play at the linebacker but shift back into coverage as a safety if needed. Kind of like what we've seen with Kendall Dolby a little bit, and maybe what they tried with Woody Washington towards the beginning of the season. So Nico also has his official visit locked in for the Champion Barbecue with Oklahoma, and then also has an unofficial visit scheduled with his brother on March 29th. So I think that's important to note. And then lastly, shifting away from the offers, you saw Ja'Cory Smith make an announcement. This isn't his top 5, but based off a post that 247 Sports put out there, his upcoming visits. He's got an unofficial to Oklahoma on March 11th, an unofficial to Texas A&M on March 22nd, an official visit to Oklahoma State on April 18th, Kansas State on May 29th, Arkansas on June 20th, and Nebraska on June 13th. Now, I have not seen Oklahoma on his official visit list, but it looks like Oklahoma could still try to get him on campus. It looks like he's got that Arkansas visit for the Champion Barbecue, so that one might be potentially out. It's going to be intriguing, though, because his teammate, Omarion Robinson, is on campus currently with Oklahoma. And I think a lot of people expect Ja'Cory Smith to be on campus with Omarion Robinson. They kind of just penciled him in. However, his recruitment's open. Like, this is not a done deal just because his former teammate is here at Oklahoma. I think it probably sets Oklahoma up in a good position because you have relationships there, but you still have to steward the relationships well. And at the end of the day, maybe Ja'Cory Smith just doesn't like Oklahoma as much and doesn't want to come here. But his recruitment is still open. Looks like Oklahoma's still in the mix. I think this March 11th visit is going to be extremely important because it's going to be a time where he's going to get a chance to meet Wes Goodwin and Nate Dreiling. Obviously, he has a relationship with Skalski and with Brent Venables, who have been with the program, but he gets a chance to meet the 2 linebacker coaches that would be potentially coaching him. And I think that's important. So we'll have to kind of watch that, monitor how that visit goes, and if Oklahoma can get an official visit. It's just not going to be potentially for the Champion Barbecue time because the Arkansas Razorbacks do have that visit slated. Now, he is from Arkansas, and we do know the mantra. Arkansas kids and the University of Arkansas, they kind of usually, there's a marriage there. So we'll have to kind of monitor what's going to happen there with that relationship. Does he end up staying in Arkansas to play for the Razorbacks? But right now, I still think this is an interesting target. If you can go out there and get you Sinceri Johnson and a Ja'Cory Smith, and then the Bo, and Nico. I think that's an excellent, phenomenal linebacker class. All four of those dudes would play for you in significant snaps at some point in their career at Oklahoma. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys jump in the comments below, give me your thoughts. And if you guys have not already, make sure you guys hit that like and you guys hit that subscribe button.